We have some injury updates following the loss of the Baltimore Ravens during week 1 of the NFL preseason. Jalen Carter, Sidney Brown, they looked fantastic, but there's a couple of other non-name players who were absolutely incredible last night and might have made the roster. That and a whole bunch more. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Sunday. I want to follow up on some of the news from last night's loss to the Baltimore Ravens and look ahead, obviously, to the joint practices on Monday. Let's start with the injury report. It is official. Shaun Bradley has suffered a torn Achilles, which is probably the most brutal injury you could possibly have on the football field regarding your career. It's tough to come back from this one. John Clark, as you see, I'm told Eagles linebacker and Temple grad Shaun Bradley suffered an Achilles injury last night. Sent out a post on Instagram saying his season has ended and thanks everyone for the well wishes, end quote. So much as we feared during the punt return, or kick return, I should say, Bradley did in fact tear that Achilles, and he is done for the season. Now, you did see a couple of other linebackers fill in for him whenever he did come out. Zach Cunningham, Miles Jack filled in for a little bit. You saw Ben Van Sumeren running with him at times. The Eagles have enough linebackers right now, but this does technically open up a spot if you were maybe a Ben Van Sumeren, or if you were maybe a Miles Jack or Zach Cunningham, at least from a special teams perspective, because Bradley was always a very good special teams player first and a linebacker second. Doesn't affect the Eagles starters because Bradley was not going to become a starter, but a young linebacker who was trying to have his breakout year is now done for the season. Thoughts and prayers to him, thumbs up, and hopefully a well-wishing to him getting better in the future. Now, some other interesting notes while you didn't see Quez Watkins or Britton Covey. Nick Sirianni's post-game press conference did confirm that Quez and Covey suffered hamstring injuries in Thursday's practice, and that's why they were held out. Now, weird we found this out on Saturday after the game, but for those wondering why there was no Covey or even look at Quez Watkins, they were not available to play due to hamstring injuries. They seem to be day-to-day, and it should be okay over the next couple of days. Very curious to see if either of them play in the joint practices starting on Monday and Tuesday against the Cleveland Browns. There is no update on Rashaad Penny. I tried, searched far and wide. No update on Rashaad Penny's ankle. We have no idea if it's serious, but my guess is it's probably not serious, or they would have talked about it during the post-game press conference or at some point today, and so probably a good sign that we have heard nothing on running back Rashaad Penny. Now, when thinking of running backs, it was interesting how Gainwell and Scott didn't dress, and yet we got one series of DeAndre Swift, a lot of Penny, and the rest of the way Sermon and Kennedy Brooks. Well, Nick Sirianni, he was asked about determining running back playing time during the preseason. Here's what he said last night, quote, "We wanted to see Rashaad go. Rashaad hasn't played in a little bit. My plan with the backs, and I have no problem telling you guys this, with the backs, I always like those guys getting tackled. So the first time they get tackled isn't in game 1. So next game, Scott or Kenny Gainwell will get a couple of carries, like Swift did today. And the next game, the other guy will get a couple of carries. So it was just DeAndre's turn tonight to do it. That's what went into that, and that's my philosophy with backs," end quote. And so, while the idea of the starters not playing might have been part of the idea, saying, you know, you have Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott being your official starters at the running back spot for Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni basically says, hey, I'm with Swift tonight. Next week is probably going to be a combination of Gainwell and Scott, followed by Sermon and Kennedy Brooks, but no need to fear, obviously, why Swift was playing versus why he was not playing. Hey, listen, he looked fantastic, and DeAndre Swift was one of the highlights behind the second-string Eagles offensive line. Imagine DeAndre Swift behind the first-string Eagles offensive line. We'd heard rumors that he was not getting as many carries during the training camp practices. I would take that all with a big, giant grain of salt. As I said on my show a couple of days ago, I think he looks fantastic, and he was definitely one of the starting stars, the few who played, and played very, very well. Now, the other star of the show was Jalen Carter. He got 2 snaps, and yet one of those snaps was absolutely incredible as he just abused Ben Cleveland, his former college teammate, and almost got a sack. I wish I could show you guys the footage, but here was, of course, Jalen Carter being asked about those 2 plays in his first Eagles game.
I had an outside move in my mind, but after just seeing him come off the ball the way he did, it translated into inside move. I got it. So, yeah.
It was your former college teammate, right?
Yes, sir.
Ben? Did you realize that as soon as you lined up against him?
But yeah, I knew it off the rip as soon as we got the O-line list. Saw me in Cleveland.
I mean, everything we've hoped for, right? The hope is that he was the best player in the draft who fell to the Eagles at number 9. And while it was just 2 plays, it did seem like maybe the Eagles did get the best player in the draft, at least defensively, back in April. And he looks motivated. He looks fast and physical. I cannot wait to see him in the second preseason game and joint practices the next couple of days. And obviously for a real game, look out Mac Jones, because this guy is very, very legit. Now, the team's leading tackler last night was Sidney Brown. Now, he didn't play until the second half, was with the 3rd string team most of the night. However, he was flying around. He was fast. He was quick. He made a lot of open field tackles. He was asked about maybe this kind of, bumps him up and puffs his chest out a little bit and might actually win the starting safety job. Here's what he said after the game.
I mean, look in the room, there's a lot of competitions with other guys that played some really good football. So, I'm still improving. I haven't done anything yet. So, I got to prove myself in these preseason games and take it just week by week. We got Cleveland this week coming up in practice. Then we're playing on Friday or Saturday, one of the 2 days. But again, Reed's playing great. Kayvon's playing great. Trell, Justin's playing great. So, I just got to be part of that standard, you know what I mean? And just, again, just keep chopping at it.
I haven't proved anything yet, and he's right. I mean, he has a ways to go. It seemed like they were working Kayvon Wallace in there. Everyone but Reed Blankenship essentially played, with Blankenship being one of the secure starters. I think you are going to slowly see Sidney Brown climb up that depth chart, but right now it feels like Edmonds and Blankenship and I guess Kayvon Wallace might be in the guys kind of securing that spot, but Sidney Brown did have a very nice showcase last night. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with Philadelphia going forward. Now, Eli Ricks had that pick 6 late in the second half, and he obviously is one of the people we are very excited from the undrafted free agent class coming into this season due to the fact he's played in some big games as a cornerback starting for the University of Alabama. When Ricks was, of course, asked about this, he said he didn't keep the game ball because he hopes to get many, many more, but he also says that he plans on continuing to give a hell of an effort, and of course, he said not getting the game ball, planning on getting many more interceptions in the NFL. I'm not worried. Now, many people are saying Eli Ricks automatically secured a spot in the 53-man roster yesterday. Not so fast. I think McPherson, Ringo, there are still cornerbacks who are ahead of him, and you can only keep so many cornerbacks, but they will find a spot on either the active roster or the protected practice squad roster to keep Eli Ricks, who has that dog in him, that length, that size, and I think could be a real threat to be maybe a starting cornerback over the next couple of years of his career. Very impressed with Eli Ricks. I think he was fantastic. However, the star of the show last night was Tanner Mckee. And what's crazy about Tanner Mckee is this is not the Tanner Mckee we've been seeing in practice. By all reports, Mckee has struggled during the Eagles' first week and a half of practices. However, last night, as Zach Berman points out, hard not to be impressed with Tanner Mckee tonight. Completions of 33, 27, and 18, plus a 31-yarder taken off the board for offensive pass interference, stretching the field more than he has this summer and showing command back there. 6th-round pick out of Stanford, 6'6", 231. And there were other people saying, again, this is not the Tanner Mckee we've seen in training camp, but the lights have come on, and he started to kind of show off there a little bit. Him and Tyree Cleveland were the big connection offensively for Philadelphia all night long. Now, people are going to rip Mariota, who threw a couple of missed throws. They're going to rip Ian Book, maybe rightfully so. You need to see more from Tanner Mckee, but as far as your debut in the National Football League after not being impressive at Stanford almost your entire career, A+ grade for Tanner Mckee. Some people thinking Nick Foles 2.0 as a backup quarterback. Let's not, again, get too ahead of ourselves, but I love what we saw from Tanner Mckee, and I think the second preseason game and really joint practices with the Browns are going to tell us even more than what we have from the Stanford quarterback who's battling for a backup, at least a number 3 spot, but a backup spot nonetheless. Okay, plenty more stuff happening over the next couple of days and weeks. I am flying to Italy tonight. By the time you are watching this, I might be in the air or be in Rome, and I'm going to be there for 10 days with my girlfriend. Going to have a great trip. Going to try and unplug a little bit, but Twitter, very active, and I'm going to do a couple of shows, right? You know, joint practices, stuff is going to happen. Might have a couple of pre-recorded shows as well, looking at depth chart stuff, and so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. We're going to get back. Obviously, have the Fantasy Football League going off on August 27th. We have the final preseason game. We're giving away the tickets. There's a lot of more fun stuff happening, and so while you might not see as many Thomas Mott shows, there'll be plenty, I promise, over the next couple of days, and then, of course, months when the NFL season started. Very exciting game last night. Love your thoughts on it down below. I'll read each comment. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.